أهلا بكم مشاهدينا من جديد، ونتابع هذه الجلسة الحوارية من دافوس المنتدى الاقتصادي العالمي حول موازين القوى في الشرق الأوسط. Dear viewers and audience, welcome back. So the Arabs, all Arabs see Palestine as the mother cause for everything. Even extremists, even Iran, everyone in the area would go back to Palestine as the mother cause. Mr. Haig, 18 years of negotiations since Madrid. A lot of terrorism around the world in the name of Palestine and other also causes, and a lot of other debates about peace, no peace. Why it's not happening?
Well, to have peace, you have to have people agree that they are going to be peaceful with each other. And there are far greater experts on this panel than me about this subject, but it is one of the great frustrations for politicians from outside the Middle East, because we want to help bring that about. If we, in our own case, if the Conservative Party is elected to office in Britain in the coming general election, then putting some new British impetus into the Middle East peace process is a very important priority for us, because it is true that so many of the issues in the Middle East and so many problems of the world stem from our inability to resolve this situation. So there will be no shortage of determination to do this. But we can see from how the Obama administration has given a lot of attention to this over the last year,
yes,
how easy it is for that to slow down, how easy it is for it to lose momentum. And I think the United States and its allies therefore need to give it fresh momentum over the coming months.
Allow me to repeat the exact quote of Mr. Obama. I'll be honest with you, this is really hard. This is just really hard. This is President Obama talking to Time magazine. Mr. Fayyad, you are insisting on freezing settlements before any talk on peace or negotiations. You've lost time. Settlements are there. They're going to continue to mushroom all over Palestine, and no peace yet. Can we blame you on that?
That doesn't make our position wrong, by the way. And one key reason to answer your first question as to how or why this has been going on for as long as it has without resolution is because there has been massive failure in addressing what I generally call requirements for success. Requirements for success, by that I specifically mean that there are certain actions that need to be taken in a manner that can actually give confidence in the capacity of that political process to yield that which we all want to see, mainly an end of the Israeli occupation and the opportunity for us Palestinians to be able to have that independent, sovereign, viable Palestinian state emerge.
So we have to wait another 18 years, sir?
No, we don't have to.
How long?
I think what is required is, again, I am troubled by the notion that something is called unrealistic because of a prejudgment or determination that is not going to happen because Israel does not want it to happen. If we
But now Palestinians look today as they are the ones who are stopping peace.
If we continue to succumb to this logic, that something is not going to happen because it is prejudged and reasonable, since Israel is not likely to accept it, I think we're going to be in this corner for a very long period of time. And it's not only Palestinians who are going to be blamed. I tell you, the issue is going to continue to go on unresolved to the detriment not only of Palestinians, but Israelis and the region at large. So the issue here is, does the world have the willpower to at long last say, enough already? These are requirements under international law. They have to be lived up to both by Palestinians and Israelis. We have, where we can, done all we could to actually live up to our obligations under international law, specifically roadmap. The question is, what has Israel done in connection with those obligations on the Israeli side?
Yes.
The answer is nothing. So long as that continues to be acceptable, normal behavior,
yes,
I'm afraid that any political process that could be relaunched would be capable of delivering that which is required. That's really the issue for us. It's not as material as it is political. The question is, how much faith can we have in the capacity of the political process to deliver once relaunched?
Yes.
If in fact the world has failed so demonstrably in bringing about compliance by Israel or willingness by Israel to accept to stop violating international law. That's what settlement activity represents. It's violation of international law. If the world cannot bring that about, how confident can we be that the political process, once relaunched, will be capable
Yes.
of delivering that outcome?
Mr.
That's
Musa,
the issue, really.
Mr. Musa, so we are waiting for the world also to be as aggressive with Israel as we want the world to be and stop settlements. You think, is this feasible? Will this happen?
Of course it is feasible, if there is the right pressure and the right position taken by everybody. That's why we're waiting to see now, and not for long, the result of the current talks. I believe all of us agree that success is not seen, or a light at the end of the tunnel is not very clear after all those visits and talks and proposals. I think that we have to go to the United Nations again, to the Security Council. The marginalization of the United Nations in the mid-90s was a major mistake on our part, that we accepted the notion of an honest broker as opposed to the UN Charter and the international law. Honest broker did not bring us anywhere. No station on the whole long road. So we have to get back to the UN. But not to go and debate, or not to go and condemn, but to go and put a draft of peace before the Security Council. And this draft is ready, insofar as we are concerned.
Yes, you are working on this. Palestinians are banking on a Security Council resolution to admit Palestine as independent state with borders of 67. And would Britain back up such a plan?
Well, I'm not the government of Britain, so
what do you think?
Not yet, anyway.
In few months.
If it is possible to...
By the time it's there, you will be, no?
Yeah, but obviously we can't say now how we will respond to a resolution we haven't seen in a few months' time after an election we haven't had. But if it is possible, though we will always be asked to do those things, if it is possible to make progress in the forum of the United Nations, then yes, we are in favour of that. But it's very difficult to do so, of course, because in the Security Council there are vetoes, and Mr. Marsan knows that.
Allow me to make a comment here on Mr. The Solana, Javier Solana, the representative of the foreign policy of Europe, before he left, full year, he said that I see no hope. We have all to go, all, meaning Europe, the Arab world, we have all to go to the Security Council and put the whole case down.
But
well, I'm not sure that's true. I mean, that is one option, that is right. And by the way, speaking for the British Conservative Party, we are certainly very clear that we also need a complete stop to Israeli settlement activity so that these discussions can get going in a more meaningful way. But there are other ways to do it, of the United States to produce proposals in more detail, and then outside the forum of the United Nations for other nations to press those proposals forward.
Mr. Hague, our audience, the normal Arab in the street, doesn't trust the West. And they think they're not doing enough for Palestine, and they think you are friends of Israel on the account of Arabs. What do you do about this? How can we be convinced that the European Union, Britain, the West really now have realized the issue of Palestine as the mother cause, as the cause for many troubles in the Middle East?
Well, I think, by the way, I understand whenever people in one part of the world don't trust people in another because of foreign policy complications. That is the normal aspect of world affairs, unfortunately. But what we can do is make sure that in Western capitals, the Middle East peace process has the correct priority, which is the top priority in international relations, and give our time and attention and impetus to that. And of course, we have among our friends, we count among our friends in the world, many, many nations of the Middle East, many of the Arab nations of the Middle East. Yes, we believe that Israel should be able to live in peace and security, but we also believe that that should be alongside a viable Palestinian state, also able to live in peace and security.
Mr. Rifai, let me pass to you this question from YouTube. A lot of people watched us on YouTube and had their own questions. This is from Selma, Washington, D.C. She says, what are Middle Eastern leaders doing to resolve the Israeli-Palestinian conflict? To what extent can resolving this conflict contribute to winning the war on modern terrorism?
I think the question should be, what are they not doing to achieve peace? I mean, they have, I'll talk, if I may, about Jordan. His Majesty, since he became king 10 years ago, has made it his priority to seek peace for not just the Palestinians but the Arabs. Before that, Jordan, with His late Majesty, spent all of his life doing that, and His late Majesty King Abdullah I was killed in Jerusalem for the cause of peace. So we have been doing our utmost for peace because we realize that the alternative is disastrous. If you don't have peace, then there's more conflict and there's more bloodshed and there's more strife, and people will continue to suffer. There has been enough suffering in both the Arab world, Israel, and in the entire world. I agree that a lot of issues of terrorism, either for real or for excuses, have used the Palestinian issue for that. So I think it will have an effect.
I'll go back to the audience, but first I have to ask Mr. Gargash, then I'll, please, if you prepare your questions. Mr. Gargash, we don't feel that the Gulf countries are as much involved in peace now with the Obama administration as much as they were with Clinton administration and Bush administration.
On the contrary.
How?
I think that the Palestinian issue is central. I think, and I'm speaking here for the UAE, we're very supportive of the Arab peace process itself. I think we have a fantastic process. We're very supportive of the Palestinian Authority, and I think in many dimensions, on the political plane, on the economic plane, and
but the support usually is money and food if there is any strike on Gaza or Lebanon.
No, you're not well informed on that.
I am.
No, you are not. I'm sorry to say it. Representative Mitchell is definitely in consultation. We are in always in consultation with the Arab League, with the Palestinian Authority. And we think that the Palestinian Authority is doing an excellent job on more than one plane. And we think that everybody ought to support its position with regards to the settlements.
Yes.
Because that is a real no-go area without getting something on the settlement. That's been our position. Maybe we are sometimes a little bit like an iceberg. You can only see the tip of it. But I assure you, we work very hard underneath, and we try to support the position, because I think the Arab world has a very rational position with regards to peace. We think in the Palestinian Authority we have a partner that is fully capable of bringing and implementing, but that partner needs tools.
Yes.
And the international community has got to give that partners these tools.
Yes. Let's go to the audience. Anyone would like to participate? Please to the sir there. Can you please introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Praveen Nair from New York University. I have two comments. One, I read a book recently that said if women ruled the world. So the men have tried and failed. Maybe we should turn it over to the women.
Not one Arab woman ruler. Not one.
Multiple women.
If women rule
Not
the
yet.
world,
It's coming.
it'll be a better
And second,
world.
this is the World
Men
Economic
have failed.
And I figure one way to defeat all these problems would be economic development of Palestine, for example. I was wondering if you had any thoughts on that.
Yes, Mr. Janahi, economic development in Palestine, you as a businessman in Bahrain, a businessman in Bahrain, in the Gulf, you think you've done what's enough regarding investments in Palestine? What's the plan for this?
Thank you very much for bringing that up. I mean, I've just been listening to the Palestinian issue, and I've just been hearing the same thing that I've been hearing for the past 20 or so years. I remember when Yasser Arafat passed away, there was this issue of the corrupt Palestinian Authority. Everybody wanted elections, everybody wanted democracy. It was done. We were here, actually, when the elections happened. And I've always say, I said it at that time, and I would like to thank the Americans and the Israelis for having that clean elections that we had in 2006. Unfortunately, Hamas came to power. Before that, we were working on a fund to basically work in the Palestinian territories, to do some investment there. And we were working with the G7 to get some sort of basically insurance for political risk.
But Fatah is viewed as corrupt.
No.
You don't want Hamas.
I'll come to you from this perspective.
What do you want?
I'll come to you from this perspective. When we try to come in, Immediately, I was in a session on the Palestinian-Israeli issue. It was a dinner that we had here. At that day that the elections happened, there were congressmen there. Immediately, the issue was, you deal with Hamas, you're finished. It's the same thing with Arab governments. Unfortunately, when Hamas came through, I'm not pro-Hamas or pro-Fatah, when Hamas came through, everybody stands still. Who is the superpower who's running the world in our part of the world? Why the Arab world? The business, we are part of it, and the governments stop supporting the Palestinian elected authority. Yes. Money was not going in, electricity was not going in. I would not say that we are working, we're doing the right thing. Sorry, I mean, the reality is that when somebody tells us, be it this gentleman or somebody else, don't do it or you'll be suffering, we stop and we don't do it. That's why the issue of, and by the way, I would not say women rulers, I would say women leaders, because we need more of leaders than rulers. We have sufficient rulers around, in business and in government. So we need more leaders coming in.
Thank you. Thank you. Please, I have to take more questions. Let's talk to this lady over there, since we're talking about women leaders.
Hello, it's Suna Vidinli. I'm a Turkish journalist.
Please, sorry, I need to hear this on record. This is not the issue, huh?
My name is Suna Vidinli. I'm from Sabah newspaper. I'm a Turkish journalist. I've been listening to the conversation, how you were talking about resolutions being passed from United Nations and George Mitchell coming into the region. I totally agree with you. It's been the same thing over and over again. And people ask, why isn't this situation changing? I'm not Arab, but I'm a fellow Muslim. And the Quran says that God will not change your status until you change yourselves first.
Yes.
And it's a very important verse in the Quran.
Yes.
And I think that's part of the reason why maybe Turkey doesn't need a nuclear power, because its nuclear power are the people. So maybe instead of discussing balance of power in the Middle East, which in itself has a hidden threat, if you're discussing balance of power, that means you're divided. Because balance of power only happens within divided communities.
Yes.
And so you lose the battle before it's even fought.
Sorry, I have to interrupt you. I'm running out of time. It's televised session.
In the face of, I mean, in the name of freedom of speech, I have to finish.
No. It's no.
I think for the sake of...
No, it's televised and I'm running out of time. I'll pass your question to Mr. Fayyad. You're not doing anything to yourself, so why you expect others to do? I'm passing her question.
I'm not sure that's entirely accurate or fair. I mean, we've been trying to do the very best we can under absolutely extremely difficult conditions, if not impossible in many ways. The minister has outlined some of them. They are very well known. We are under occupation. That's the reality. That's the most adverse reality that we have to face every day. Ending it is a key challenge. And toward that, and we Palestinians are trying to do the very best we can in the sense of working on a key deliverable of that political process once relaunched. The Palestinian state, getting ready for statehood is a Palestinian responsibility, and I think we are shouldering that responsibly with the help of international community and Arab countries as well included in that. But that's not enough. What is required is to have a political horizon to all of this, because absent that, our effort risks being seen as adapting to the reality of occupation, as opposed to being an integral part of the effort needed to end it. That is where we are most interested, keenly interested in getting a political process restarted. Because we lose the most if it stays dormant. As you rightly pointed out, settlement activity is ongoing, as are other violations or other aspects.
Mr. Fayyad, I have to interrupt you.
We're trying to do the best we can.
I have to just half a minute, Mr. Musa. Better to have peace process, even if it's slow and not working, than not having peace process at all or negotiations?
I'm against deceiving the public opinion anymore. If there is a peace process, a meaningful, a serious one, we're all for it. If it is just for a photo session and to tell people, wait, we are doing whatever we can, we are moving, etc., this will be, again, doing exactly the same mistake, the same trick that brought us to where we are today. Is peace process, we are for a peace process, definitely, and negotiating process, because we want to end this conflict. But it has to be a serious one, not one of the gimmicks that has played in the hand of the Israelis.
Thank you so much.
Help the Arab.
Thank you so much. Thank you all. Thank you Dear audience, I have to end this session now because time has run out. مشاهدي العربية، شكرا جزيلا لمتابعة هذه الجلسة الحوارية. كنا معكم من دافوس من المنتدى الاقتصادي العالمي، والحوار كان حول موازين القوى في الشرق الأوسط. شكرا للمتابعة، إلى اللقاء.